Hello, everyone. It's Ray Paulick. Welcome to another edition of the Friday Show presented by Woodbine Racetrack. And this is a special edition because it's Breeders' Cup Friday. I'm pleased to be joined by bloodstock editor Joe Nevills, news editor Chelsea Hackbarth, and I'm Ray Paulick, and I don't know what I do exactly. But we're here to talk about the Breeders' Cup a little bit, and I don't know. I think maybe Horse of the Year might be on the line. Is that possible, Joe?
I mean, it feels like just about any year that we go into the Breeders' Cup, it's Horse of the Year is always on the line. Everything is on the line with the Breeders' Cup. Freshman Sire is always on the line. Horse of the Year is on the line. Just this is where everything shakes out.
So, which gray horse trained by Brad Cox is it going to be, Ray?
You know, he's got an embarrassment of riches, I think, doesn't he? Between those two and another potential champion, at least one, and She Dares the Devil in the distaff, who's got, a big task with Latruska in there. But if she wins the distaff, Brad Cox has been pretty adamant that She Dares the Devil should get the Eclipse Award as the best older filly and mare. So there is a lot on the line, probably Eclipse Awards for trainers, possibly jockeys as well. So I don't think anybody has anything locked up at this stage. So what are some of the potential scenarios here for Horse of the Year?
I think it all depends on whether you believe in Latruska or not. If Latruska wins the distaff and you believe that that's a campaign that's enough to be Horse of the Year, then that's a very simple answer. I know that there's been some rumblings on social media about, she has never beat males in the campaign, assuming she doesn't go and win the Clark or something. If her season ends with the distaff, then, she wouldn't have beaten males. And some people hold that against a mare going up for Horse of the Year honors. And I don't know. She's beaten a very good crop of fillies and mares this year. She's beaten everyone that you would want to. I'd definitely have to think about it, but she's a viable Horse of the Year candidate if she wins the distaff, which you have to do first.
Well, and, if somebody like Stiletto Boy pops up and wins the Classic, then and the other top Horse of the Year candidates finish way, way, way off the board, then I think maybe it becomes a clearer Horse of the Year possibility. But yes. I do think that a lot of your old school voters will hold the fact that she's not raced against males against her.
Yeah, what happens if she loses, and if the Classic is not won by Essential Quality, Knicks Go, or Medina Spirit? What happens then? What if they all lose?
Chaos. So I think what might happen here is we start looking at a horse like Jackie's Warrior. Assuming Jackie's Warrior wins the sprint, we start looking at some of the other divisions where horses have been absolutely dominant. And, some people, I'm sure the same block of voters that would hold Latruska for not going against males would hold Jackie's Warrior for being a sprinter instead of a two-turn horse. But that's the kind of thing you'd have to look at. It's just like a completely dominant campaign. And Jackie's Warrior, once he got himself around one turn, has been nothing short of that.
Or, alternative, Art Collector wins the Classic and then comes back and wins the Cigar Mile. I mean, has he done enough then?
That's a conversation you'd have to have. And I mean, it would be the proudest moment in Charlestown history if a Charlestown Classic winner goes on to be Horse of the Year.
If we do have chaos, then you've got to start looking at not just the grades of the races that the various horses have won, but who they beat. And if you start going into that level and you look at a horse like Knicks Go, he did beat a good field in the Whitney. I'm not really impressed by who he beat in the Pegasus or in the most recent win. And he went to not Nebraska. He went to Iowa for the old Cornhusker, which I think is a grade 3. So I guess that was a confidence builder after losing a couple, including the Med Mile. But I feel the same way about Art Collector. Has he really beat that much this year? I don't know.
You mentioned the Cornhusker. The Classic actually, the Prairie Meadows turned out to be a very key location for Classic contenders this year. Knicks Go won the Cornhusker. Stiletto Boy won the Iowa Derby going into the Classic this year. So, Iowa getting on the map this year. Let's not dismiss what's going on here with Iowa.
And the Iowa Hawkeyes for a while were a pretty good football team. I think they've had a few bad weeks, but big year for Iowa. Good for them.
That's
good
exactly.
For
now, one name you kind of mentioned there that I feel like we should at least give a little credence to is Medina Spirit. Now, personally, if he does win the Classic, I will not be voting for him because I have a policy of not voting for horses for Eclipse Awards that test positive in races. But I could see a percentage of the voting block seeing a horse that presumably at the end of the year still will have his Kentucky Derby win, beat older horses in the Awesome Again, and then we'll have one, if he wins the Classic, have won the Classic. And that might be enough to get some people on board with him. I think that'd be a very controversial decision. That's not one I would make personally, but I could see him peeling off some votes if he wins and there are not other compelling candidates somewhere.
Well, it's a fascinating Classic.
It would certainly not be a unanimous vote.
No, it would not.
To me, it's a fascinating Classic because you've got horses that want to be in the lead. I know they all say, "Oh, he doesn't have to be," but Brad Cox has made no bones about it. He said, "We're going. We're going to send, and we're going to dare everybody else to go with us." And I don't know that anybody is going to try to go with them. They might just say, "You know what? We're just going to sit second and see if you can get a mile and a quarter." Because there are some people who think he can't, and I don't know. I think that this racetrack is very difficult to win from very far back. If you win the race going into the stretch, not in the stretch, and if he's got a big cushion going into the stretch, it's game over.
And that's something that concerns me about Essential Quality, who's going to get a lot of attention in this race, is that he's kind of the one major contender that isn't a front-running type, who isn't going to be sort of on those front early fractions. And I wonder if the combination of him being a closing type against a bunch of those and just, the old Harvey Peck saying, don't bet on a favorite doing something for the first time, going over to the West Coast for his first race, if that might stack up against him. I really like Essential Quality. I hope he wins. I think he would be a deserving horse of the year if he wins the Classic, but I'm a little off him on this race.
He always shows up for sure. Chelsea, are you
on
an
that
Essential
note,
Quality?
do we have any long shot picks for the Breeders' Cup?
I'm sorry?
On that note, do we have any long shot picks for the Breeders' Cup?
I'm not sure that she's a long shot, but I think the Japanese are going to finally win a race, and Love's Only You is the one that's going to do it in the filly and mare turf. She's really consistent. She was a Classic winner as a 3-year-old in Japan, winning the Oaks. And this year, since then, she's won a Group 1 in Hong Kong, and she was just beaten by Mishrif in the Shima Classic in Dubai. I think beaten a half length, 1/3. She's got an awkward way of running, but she likes, she is all quality, and I think she's going to win the filly mare turf.
I'm of a similar mind with Ray, but I'm going in a different direction. I do think that eventually the Japanese contingent is going to win a Breeders' Cup race, and they have their strongest group to date. But my pick is going to be in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. I have my eye on number 2, Jasper Great, a son of Arrogate, who won on debut by 10 lengths. I don't know how that's going to translate, but the Juvenile is the kind of race where upsets are pretty frequent. If you look back at some of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winners of the past, you will see a lot of long price horses here. There's a lot of very talented horses in this field, but I don't know if there's one stone cold killer that really makes me shake. And it might be ripe for the kind of upset. I mean, he's clearly flashed a lot of talent. Japan racing does mirror U.S. racing in terms of a lot of pedigrees. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be my public win candidate when it comes to my Haiku handicapper pick later this week, but he's at least going to be getting some money when it comes to actually plunking my money down, because he's impossible to ignore.
That's a way to plug that haiku handicapper, Joe. I really
got to do the business, Ray. Got to do the business.
Look for that. Look for that sometime in the next couple of days. Chelsea, who's your long shot?
After watching morning training, I'm actually kind of interested in a colt named Armor in the juvenile turf sprint. Of all the 2-year-olds we saw on the track this morning, he is by far the most well-muscled. He's enormous. He looks like about a 6-year-old out there on the track, just enormous hindquarters that just screamed power. And he looks like he should be able to get a good trip from post 7. He also gets Ryan Moore aboard, whom obviously knows what he's doing on a horse. Why not?
I mean, basically the only box that he didn't check in that race is trained by Wesley Ward. So that's
his daddy is No Nay Never. So I mean, almost trained by Wesley Ward.
Yeah, close enough.
Well, I think that I think there's going to be, well, we've got a 5-horse field in one race and a 6-horse field in another race. So I don't think we're going to see any big prices there. But I think we're going to see some bombs again on the turf. And I love the new bet they've got in this year with the all-turf pick 4, which will go from the turf sprint on Saturday, from the turf sprint to the filling mare turf to the mile to the turf. So I intend to play that bet. I like handicapping on the turf because it's all about the trip. You've got to get the right trip on this turf course, including in the sprints.
And the fields are huge for those races. So you're going to get, if you hit it, you're going to get it for a price because there's just so many combinations. It's going to be unlikely that you're going to share that purse with too many people.
All right. Well, those are our long shot picks for the Breeders' Cup. We're going to be right back after taking a look at the Woodbine Star of the Week.
Dancing in Denial on the inside, the Minx to the center. Coming at them is Mad Mocha the outside from Fast Feet Chamateur. And as they turn, then JMR Best of Turf, and down the outside is Hidden Honor. It's the Minxter in front. The Minxter lays in, lugs in with Dancing in Denial, fighting right back. They're still neck and neck. The Minxter, Dancing in Denial, and Mad Mocha. The Minxter's going away from them. The Minxter in the Coronation Futurity. A star on the rise, the Minxter by 2 lengths. Dancing in Denial second. Chamateur, God of Love for the Miners, and on the inside, JMR Best of Turf from Larac.
We have a new division leader in the Canadian Juvenile Division, and that's the Minxter, who drew off to win the Coronation Futurity on October 30th and become our Woodbine Star of the Week. This is a really smart effort by the top 2 finishers who got on the lead and just weren't in a hurry to go anywhere. Opening half in nearly 51 seconds, and nobody ever really stepped up to do anything about it. You can tell the Minxter still has some learning to do, but he did a fair bit of bumping with Dancing in Denial in the stretch, but he recovered from the contact really well, which makes me think it was more of a young horse thing than an I'm tired kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a 2-year-old by English Channel, a sire who is really better known for having horses who improve with age. So we haven't seen a lot of stakes winning 2-year-olds. So it's a little bit of a change of pace there. And he's a turf sire, but this is on synthetic, so it's very similar. 1 1/8 for 2-year-olds. It's kind of nice to see somebody stretching them out to that extent at this time of the year too.
And it would make sense. You know, English Channel is bred for the distance, so it makes sense that he would have one that does well at 1 1/8 with a 2-year-old. You know, 2021 has been a big turnaround season for trainer Danny Vella, who has 3 stakes wins on the year after going winless in stakes company since 2016. That being said, though, Vella knows all about winning at Woodbine. He was a 2-time Queen's Plate winning trainer and did it most recently with Strait of Dover in 2012.
And a good guy as well. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Friday show for the Breeders' Cup. It's been presented by Woodbine. No stakes racing at Woodbine until Sunday. I think they have the Ontario Stakes for sprinters on Sunday afternoon at Woodbine. Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, Joe. And we'll see everyone next week.